Welcome to another episode of the Human Experience podcast. This is your host, Eldin Hasa. Today's episode is sponsored by Formula EQ Academy, formulaeq.com. They are actually running a 2-day health reset retreat in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 29 and March 30. It is actually a neuroscience-based theta rewiring experience, fully immersive, using as many of the 5 senses, the ultimate mind-body reset. You will get utilizing theta brainwave activation, guided meditations, breathwork, somatic therapy, healing, and EFT. Multi-sensory journey designed to reprogram limiting beliefs, heal trauma, and unlock peak potential. It's hosted by Preston Weeks, top global psychologist and the neuroscientist from London, Eldin Hasa, yours truly, the host of this podcast. So I am traveling from London, England, to partner up with Preston Weeks from Formula EQ Academy to host this 2-day health reset retreat. I will put all the information in the show notes about the event and about our sponsor. Looking forward to meeting you live in person at our 2-day retreat in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 29 and March 30. Welcome everyone to another podcast episode of the Human Experience podcast. This is your host, Eldin Hasa. I'm very excited. My guest today is from United Kingdom. Mary Lou Wren, she is been in business for decades. She's an expert advanced EFT practitioner and kinesiologist, and she brings over 2 decades of experience in energy medicine, blending practical tools with spiritual insights and support healing and balance. So welcome, Mary Lou.
Thank
Could
you,
you
Eldin.
kindly introduce yourself in your own words, and then we can delve deeper in all the amazing work that you do?
Oh, thank you. And thank you for having me. It's a real pleasure to be here. I round all that up by calling myself an energy coach. And in a nutshell, I like to think I offer safe, grounded nervous system healing using EFT and meditation are my beautiful tools. And I particularly like to focus on women with a chronic illness or cancer, because within that story, there are so many fears that are triggered, there's so much stress and anxiety. And when one is in that state, in that fight and flight state, your immune system shuts down. So at the one time you need it is the one time that the circumstance is suppressing it all. And also, I believe that if one looks at yourself as an vibrational being on an energetic level, that when you have stress and anxiety, it creates that discord in your body, creates that discomfort, that dis-ease. So often within that journey, we'll go back and go, well, what was happening when these symptoms started to appear? And then we can unpack the original tiger that potentially created it.
Yeah, I love all of that. Yes, I'm a strong believer in what you said, based on science that I've been researching for over 3 decades, and actually, I do apply many modalities in my own work with my own clients. So yeah, I can attest to that, and I have testimonials of the success stories of healing stage 4 cancer without medication, without surgery, from
Beautiful.
applying these modalities. I didn't heal them. I just was a catalyst, a guide to teach them various techniques so they can practice daily. Some of them were pre-recorded, press play, and I guide you. Some of them they would just do by themselves, right? And it's amazing how the society has all the data. Like medical science says that 98% of doctors' visits stems from stress, from self-perpetuated stress, being in a state of survival, state of fight or flight. And the root cause, they come for all kinds of symptoms, but the root cause of why they went to visit a doctor, it's because of the self-perpetual stress and the being into that dis-ease state. And according to epigenetics, you actually upregulate the gene expression for causing cancer, for causing disease, and you downregulating gene expression for healing, and you actually shut off your immune system. You actually shut off your digestive system, because your brain and body is experiencing as if it's being chased by a lion
Exactly that.
in the present moment. And you're like, whoa, and it becomes automatic unconscious habit.
And I think that word stress, it's almost as society has modernized and we've just got busier and everyone wants more and to be more, we just accept it. It's like, oh, I'm stressed. It's almost at times a
Yeah,
badge
it's
of honor.
normal. Stress is
Yeah.
normal.
But actually it shouldn't be. And I think, as you say, if you unpack the actual impact, the real impact of living like that, of we shouldn't have to get used to being in that slightly what I call that tense state and not breathing deeply and breathing shallowly. And as you say, when we're dealing with modern tigers, your body is not interested in digestion, in procreation, in any of those things. It needs to get you away. So everything else shuts down.
Survival.
Absolutely. And I don't think many people realize how they are in constant survival. And even if it's not just through the daily grind of raising a family or having work or having to pay those bills, it's also part of the work I do is looking at the triggers from childhood or the past, the
The
traumas
traumas.
that keep you stuck there, that then I often call it like a stitch and a thread. So you create that knot, which is original trauma, which pulls on your life, and every stitch that goes through that life, you're re-triggering that original trauma, and it's tugging on it all. And you go, I don't know why, but I know that this situation is really triggering, or when that person says that or treats me in that way, I get triggered. And it's having to go back to that original knot, that original cause, going, if you just release that, if you just deal with all the energy and the emotions and the limiting beliefs around that, you won't get triggered, you won't send fight and flight.
Yeah.
And as you say, we're not healers. I'm not a healer. I am you beautifully put it. I am a guide and they're the traveler. We have the map. We can know all the routes that are available through our modalities, but they have to have the willingness and the curiosity to travel that. And
Yeah.
I had one client at the beginning of her cancer journey. It was her secondary cancer journey. She came to me and she hadn't experienced anything holistic at all. And I started to sort of show her this map and the possibilities and helped her to feel it. And she said, you have opened a door to my body that I didn't know existed, which for
Wow.
me sums it all up, because people don't know what they don't know, do they?
Absolutely.
And it's being able to say, actually, when you meditate, how does that feel? When you do breathing, how does that feel? When we clear through whatever it is, heart work or EFT or hypnosis, how does it feel? Come back to your body, which most people spend a lot of time escaping because the
Yes.
world is loud and noisy and we're doing all the time. The power of being is never to be underestimated. And I think
Yes.
also, if you're particularly in a cancer or chronic illness journey, your body at times can feel like it's betraying you. It's kind of the enemy. Why would I want to come in? Why would I want to sit here? Because it's broken, it's not working. I'm angry at it. I'm resentful. Is it my fault? But actually, your body is working for you all the time.
Yeah.
And if you can sit in that space, create that, shut the noise away and sit in that space and have this, listen to your body and communicate with it on all these different levels, has this healing potential. As you say, stage 4 cancer,
Yeah.
it wants to heal.
Yes. Absolutely. There's so many things I want to unpack there, but I want to tell the audience, they heard me say this before, is your body's a miraculous machine which knows how to heal itself, how to take care of itself if you don't interfere. And what I mean by that is it originates from we are not human doings or human havings, we are human beings. So the being is the body, being is innate, intrinsic within your higher self, within the real self, not the physical body, the meat suit, right? And so you escaping the being aspect of yourself, which should be the foundation of everything, is what is the causation of many of your kind of dysfunctions, as well as the physical and mental health ailments. And what I'd like to delve deeper is how when people actually begin, as you said, like how does it feel when you meditate? How does it feel when you breathe? Is that disconnect from like, because yeah, the world is noisy, people are busy with so many things, but then people never actually introspect to evaluate, not to judge. Well, they are used to usually to be critical, to judge, but not to introspect, to evaluate. Is my thought process scattered? How are my brain waves? Are they incoherence? Is my brain in coherent state, or is it feeling out of balance, like I'm losing my mind? How is
Mm,
my breathing? How's my heart rate?
mm,
Is my heart beating out of rhythm, right? Is this normal, right?
mm,
So kind of like, to understand yourself, to
mm,
understand your
mm,
biology, your physiology, right?
mm,
Because know thyself. Like, you
mm.
can go to a doctor, but no one knows you better than you know yourself, right? And so the doctor can tell you what you are doing wrong, but what you're going to do about it. And why did you allow yourself to come to the point where doctor will tell you, like a drill sergeant, like like a teacher telling a pupil in a primary school off, you've been a naughty boy.
Mm.
Why are you allowing yourself to come to that point?
The medical model is, I find, very disempowering generally. In that one, they will only look at the symptoms and not the cause, but it is, you're going, doctor, can you make me better? And it's like we seem to have more faith in modern medicine and let's say if you have cancer in dying than we do in our body to heal. And it's just the wrong way of looking at the equation, as you say. And I think if anything, if we in schools empower children again to come back to feel on all levels, to connect on all levels, that would solve so many problems. Because as you say, people are externalizing all the time, then it doesn't occur to them. I mean, especially my generation, I was brought up by a mother and her mantra was never complain, never explain. That if you actually look at yourself, emotional, physical, mental well-being, you're being selfish. So
Yeah,
you don't, it's about always doing for others. But one phrase I will constantly say to my clients is you cannot give from an empty cup. It's
absolutely.
oxygen mask first. And that's
Yeah,
not, I'll just do enough. The more work I've done on myself, the more I've created safety for myself on all levels, the better version I have been as a mother, as a businesswoman, as a wife, as a sister, as a daughter. I've been able to show up in all those different ways. I'm the fullest version of myself as a result of doing that work. And work, I think, is quite a loaded word, but it's beautiful
yeah,
work. It's
yeah.
growth. It's magical.
Yeah, absolutely. Like I was telling 2 days ago, I bumped into a friend in the gym that I know, and he said, "Oh my God, look at you! Your chest is getting bigger and bigger. Like, what did you do from yesterday to today? Did you train chest?" I said, "No, that was 3 days ago. But what I did do, I said, I've increased the duration of my breath work. I've been doing for the last 3 days, an hour before sleep and an hour in morning." And I do breath work all the time and meditation, and I teach about 60 different breath work modalities, and I certify other trainers how to do it. But I just felt like I wanted to do more and more and more, and I do variation of different techniques. And just I feel incredible, and in the morning, especially, I do the pranayama, the breath on fire, as
Hmm.
into, raise the energy. And then I do some other ones later. But, it changes your biology and physiology. And you just show up, as you said, you cannot give from an empty cup.
Mm,
Because and yes, it's work, but because you and I, people like you and I, we've been doing this for years, for decades. We talk the talk, but walk the walk as well. It's become, according to University College London, for the brain to create a new positive habit, in order to become automatic, it takes on average 66 days. So now we are showing up
mm,
effortlessly as a happy person, as a
mm,
grateful person, as an amazing listener, as an amazing lover, as an amazing wife, husband, daughter, son, friend, coach, mentor, whatever kind of role we are showing up as. And it's effortless because why? we've been working on becoming this version in
Mm.
all of those areas, in all of those roles. And there is an automatic software in the brain which it's effortless. It's an effortless effort.
Mm. If you look at the work of Bruce Lipton and how our cells are listening, how our cell wall is actually the brain of that cell. We think it's a nucleus and it's vibrating. And as you say, it's that change of gene expression that we're a result of our thoughts and our feelings. And then if you look at, and I always forget stats, but how our skin is changing, how our cells are constantly changing. Every 7 days it's replenishing. We're not the same. We're
In
constantly
12
growing.
months, every cell is changed,
Yeah.
including your skeletal system.
It's extraordinary, isn't it?
Yeah,
But then if you
yeah.
combine that with that, I am what I think and I am what I believe, and all those emotions, that every time those are regenerating and we're coming all that amazing heart and breath work, you're coming from that heart center, powerful, powerful heart center, and we're filling our body with love and positivity and healing. You have the ability to become superhumans in a way, but you have to
True.
feed your body on all those different levels.
Yeah,
And
not
it's
just the
having that
nutrients,
belief.
right? Not
No,
just the
no.
diet, what you eat. Actually, this what you are discussing is more important in my
Totally. You
experience.
can eat a totally pure plant-based
Vegan,
diet.
raw,
You can eat
whatever. Yeah,
the most filtered water. But
organic.
if you
Yeah,
are living in anger or self-loathing or shame or guilt or fear or anxiety, none of that matters
yeah,
because all those
absolutely.
thoughts are impacting the gene expression and how your body is regenerating.
Yeah, and I'd like to delve a little bit deeper about so listeners they heard this stress thing, like, yeah, I'm stressed, but most of the humans, I do workshops on overwhelm and stress, and I delve really deep into the science, and then I teach them techniques and actually how to eradicate it from their life. And what is I tell them the cost and benefit. If you
Mm.
want to, so now you know what it is, you know what the cost is, and you know what the benefit is of being in this. So I'll ask you to delve into stress, but I just tell them that basically stress is actually not a bad thing. It's when the brain and body feels that it's knocked out of balance, and it gets itself into state of homeostasis, and the process takes between 1.5 minutes to 2 minutes maximum. So that's the cycle of getting, so the body knows, like, okay, no organism can survive in state of fight or flight, state of stress for a prolonged period of time. It dies. Neither can human. That's why the cycle doesn't last more than 2 minutes.
Mm.
So the body automatically and the brain gets itself into homeostasis, into balance, right? Now, what is the human default state? I think that's where we should start at. So this gratitude and love and all of those other beautiful emotions, it's not just a woo-woo stuff. It's
Mm.
actually your default human state. Like you buy a piece of machinery, it's got a default setting, like TV or dishwasher, and factory setting. So
Mm.
human
Mm.
factory setting is unconditional love, inner peace, homeostasis, gratitude, compassion, kindness, empathy, confidence, all at 100%, right? All the other emotions, they derive from state of stress, state of fight or flight, the cortisol and adrenaline and stress hormones.
Mhm.
So now that you know, and listeners and viewers who don't understand the science, they know one thing. Oh, I had a bad day. I cannot wait to open a bottle of wine at home or go to a pub and have few pints. So what they intrinsically know, that how I feel doesn't feel good. So what I need to do is to actually, have a state of inner peace, the homeostasis, but they go in the wrong way about it. They think getting pissed is gonna get them there. Actually, it does. It does help them regulate their nervous system, but with side effects, right? And they never address the root cause of their problem.
There's so much I want to respond to in that. Um, I want to talk about fear and safety. Yeah, as you say, stress is there to help us. It's help us to get out and then come and bounce back from it. I've forgotten the first thing I was going to say. Let's go to fear and safety. Stress is a perception. Oh, that was going to say, how many people really know what that optimum state, that factory setting that you were talking about, if I could click a button on someone and go, this is the truest version of you, this is the highest version of you, I should think the majority of people don't know what that feels like. Maybe as a child we had that, and life has layered, expectations have layered, fear and trauma have layered, and have totally drowned that out. But I absolutely are on board with getting back to that state. And maybe we won't get to 100% factory setting, but surely a 75, 85% is better than 50 or 45, living in a
Absolutely.
lower vibrational state. And then when you're living in that lower vibrational state, you pay the cost. As we started out, that discord, that disease then starts to disrupt those cells. Your genes are listening, and then disease is caused. But what I wanted to say about stress, and I said this recently to my son when he came, oh, I've got this and this and this. And I said, you're not going to like this. I said, but stress is a mindset. Yes, you have all these things that you need to do. Yes, you have all these deadlines. And I'm not saying they're not hard, and I'm not saying they're not challenging, and I'm not saying they don't need to be done. But your perception of how you're going to deal with that is what's causing you the stress. It's that I haven't got time, or I'm going to get into trouble, or I haven't got enough money to do it. It's our mindset that creates the stress. And then if you unpack that, a lot of that, for me and the work that I do, that layer is what I call that base chakra work, is that fear, the fear of not being enough, the fear of not being worthy, the fear of being visible, the fear of not having money, all those fears that we have, of all those mini traumas that inform our narrative moving forward. And then, so if your whole base chakra is out and you're in fear and you have no safety, that I think determines a lot of how we show up. So for me, the way I deal with that is obviously I use tapping and meditation to clear those limiting beliefs. But a lot of that is that grounding work. So I love your work around the heart and the power of the heart, but also that power of grounding. If your root chakra is not grounding, your other chakras cannot ground. You work upwards. And your root chakra is all about that tribal energy, being part of that community, of having that security and safety. If you do not have that, if you do not feel part of that whole and strong enough and safe enough, you cannot show up in any other way. And it will inform your narrative. It'll inform your paradigm on how you show up and respond to all these different things.
Absolutely. And I love what you said. It's a narrative. It's a story. It's not real. It's made up, and if you kind of unpack it, even, without understanding any of the science and anything that you just said, if you actually just ask yourself a question, what's the worst that can happen? And are you actually telling the truth, or are you making things up?
And how does it make you feel when you have that thought? How does it make you feel? Does
yeah,
it make you feel good, or does it make you feel bad?
yeah. And 9 times out of 10, what people are doing unconsciously, they are projecting into the future the worst case scenario of what they don't like to see happen. And they are oblivious to the fact that you are creator and co-creator of your reality. This is not the woo-woo stuff. This is not like, oh, self-fulfilling prophecy. But in quantum physics, it actually tells you that there is a quantum field which has infinite number of possibilities which exist simultaneously right now. So you literally are either choosing the possibility and an outcome of what you don't like to see happen, which is your biggest fear. Like, I'm going to fail my exams. I'm going to fail at that project. I'm going to lose all my money. I'm going to go bankrupt. I'm going to lose my mortgage. I'm going to be homeless. My wife is going to leave me. I'm going to die, from the doctor give me the diagnosis. Or are you going to say, okay, what am I doing? Let's actually unpack it. What am I doing? I'm sitting in my chair, in my armchair, and I'm making shit up. That's what you're doing. So if you are going to be sitting in your armchair and pretending to be a psychic with a crystal ball, what if you say, okay, let me flip that narrative and say, okay, what is it that I like to see happen? And can I actually see that and begin to mentally rehearse, evoking the strong positive emotions as if it has already happened, and rewire my brain and body and tap into that infinite possibility of what I do like to see happen. And then this becomes my reality. Can I do that? And this is the most difficult part for the most people, because they've been used to projecting this, and they say, well, listen, this is my life experience. I always fail at this. I have always had these outcomes. So how can you tell me I have no evidence that this will ever happen for me?
Yeah. When you look at yourself as a vibrational being, the fact that we are trillions of cells that are vibrating, and again, science has shown that that we're electromagnetic beings,
Correct.
and all those thought patterns that you're talking about, all the paradigms and the narrative that we create. If we break it down really simply, if it's too big a concept, think about going to a party, and if ever you've been feeling really good for whatever reason, you won the lottery and you go into a party and you're feeling high vibe and you go, oh, I'm loving life, I'm shining bright, and I'm so excited to meet all the people here. You're going to have a great time. People are going to gravitate towards you. You're smiling, you're bright, you're expansive. And it's great because that's your vibe. That's why we talk about vibes, but it is literally that is your vibration.
True.
Let's say you go to in a different time zone, you go to the same party or a different party, and you've just lost some money on the horses, or your back's hurting, or you hate your job, or you've had an argument with your wife, or you have the belief that no one likes me. So you're going to go in with a very constricted energy. Your head is down, your body posture is down. The energy you're giving off is, I'm not worthy, don't talk to me, I'm shitty, I'm angry, whatever. The evidence will be there. People naturally, subconsciously go, of all the people I want to talk to in this room, that ain't one of them. So if you just think of that simple vibration of how we show up in a day, the evidence plays out again and again and again. But if you're stuck, if life is your party and you're stuck with that belief of, if this always happens to me, I always get sick, I have no money, I have that, that is the vibration, that is the vibe that you're living in. And life is going to go, yeah, nah, I'm going to avoid that. And as you say, if we look at the wheel, the quantum physics and that field of possibilities, everything is there for the taking, but it's having to stay in that vibrational, open, expansive energy going, I deserve this.
Yes.
This is exciting. I'm excited about what's coming. In a slightly woo, when I do my meditation, and it might be something people work with, I call it my rainbow travelator. So imagine you're at the airport and you have that flat travelator that is moving when you're walking. So it's moving towards
Yes.
you and you're walking to the future. So imagine in a meditative state, make this a rainbow travelator. So you're walking in a high vibrational state going, I know at the end of that travelator, I can't see it yet, but I know what is coming towards me is a new partner, a better job, some money, a great house. And I'm walking towards that in anticipation, eagerness, and excitement. And that's the vibration that is feeding the energy, the rainbow colors of that travelator, because I have an expectation that good things are going to
Yeah.
happen. And
Yeah.
that is how I try and do it. Going, what vibration am I sitting in now that I want to draw? And the universe goes, oh, she's excited. I'll give her something to be excited about. Or she's feeling expansive or happy. We'll give her more things to make her feel happy, because that's a vibration you're putting out.
Absolutely. And for the viewers and listeners to understand, the successful people are not grateful because they are successful. They are successful because they are grateful. They are in that vibrational state 24/7. And when they do their active state of gratitude, this is how they word it. I am grateful for all my blessings that I already have. And I also am grateful for all the blessings that are on its way to me with anticipation. They wake up every morning expecting magic and miracles to be, experienced in their daily life. And look at that vibrational state they are in. No high achiever that I know, and I'm sure you have a lot of these clients yourself. I have a lot of them myself. I do one-to-one as well as groups, and they all. I've actually spoken to them. I say, "What is your dominant state of being?" Even before you met me, because clearly you're highly successful financially and all of that. But they've got some other ailments they need to work on. No one is like finished article. Everybody's work in progress, right? And so they all had one common kind of characteristic is that they are expert in self-regulating their nervous system and their emotional state, and they know when they are in that vibrational frequency of what they like to see experience in their reality. Is almost like Midas touch. Everything they touch, that turns into gold.
Mm.
And what does that look like scientifically? Well, basically, when you are in that highly coherent state, you are only solution oriented. Your brain sees 50,000 possibilities of how you can overcome the challenge. But when you're in a state of fight or flight, you feel incapacitated, like abandoned ship, we're going to die, we've hit an iceberg.
It's gratitude is so much. If you put into Google the frequency of emotions, there's a beautiful chart that I sometimes show my clients, and it's like an upside down triangle. And on the bottom is the literal measured frequency of fear, anxiety, regret, anger, guilt, low vibration. And the top of that is peace, joy, and gratitude. And I know that work you do with your heart and the heart math and all of that, that's shown how expansive, and the 100,000 photons that come from the heart. When you live in that high vibrational state, you're high vibration, high vibration. So we've talked about what that happens to the body, how the cells then become high vibrational. But if you're expanding that field, and again, that is what you're attracting towards you. But it's also, I had a business previously, and it was a closed product. And it was like, what is my biggest vision for this? Am I just going to have the vision of going to the local market and selling some just to the local people? Or am I going to have the vision of being in a shop, one of the big high street stores? Even if you apply this to lots of different things, if I believe it didn't happen, but I had a belief that I was going to be in a high street store, the decisions I make now are bigger, they're bolder. Well, I can't just make 10 because I'm going to sell 100, so I need to make 100. You show up in a bigger way.
And
so if you're
inspired action, right? You have an
Absolutely.
inspired action based on your vision, where the other, spectrum is that, the action you take is based on those limiting beliefs.
It's all about, are you being constrictive on every level, physically,
Yeah.
emotionally, mentally, or are you being expansive? And if you're creating this shell of constriction, you're literally limiting your world. It's like putting a bubble over your world, going, I can only grow on all levels to this size because that's my ceiling, and I'm just going to limit myself emotionally, or I'll never get married, or I'll never be successful. But if you don't even have a ceiling. You just go, actually, the world is my oyster. The universe is working for me, not against me, which I think is a really important point. I'm not a victim in this. This is a coherent relationship, not only with my body and my breath and my heart, but with the universe. They want, the infinite possibilities of health and well-being and success.
Abundance, prosperity, everything.
But it's breaking down that abundance. For me, bring it on. 5-10 bedroom house, bring on all the money. But for me, in the experience that I've had in my journey, where the people around me have had health issues or financial issues, for me, abundance is time with friends, time with family, is time in nature, definitely.
Good health.
Is meditating and health and all of that. So whilst my boundaries are broad, I am great. In my worst times, my deepest gratitude was hanging up my washing, because it meant that I had a bed that I could put the sheets on. It means I had the electricity to pay for the washing machine. It means I had a garden in which to hang it. It means I was surrounded by nature that was going to dry it. And I genuinely mean that. And even now, I just think, this is what brings me joy. Walking, I'm very lucky. I live by the sea. Being surrounded by nature fills my heart. Watching my chickens fills my heart. Saying hello to the birds as I walk. All these things, it'd be so easy to ignore them. Because I don't have that, or I don't have that.
Can I ask you, in order for you to be able to do everything you just described, are you in the present moment, or are you all over the place and your mind is scattered?
No, absolutely present moment. Because
Well,
it's that curiosity and observing. And it's knowing, actually, this matters. And knowing that in my darkest times, those are the things that got me through. My practices, my grounding, my meditation, my EFT, and working with nature, because it's a huge part of the work I do, especially trees, that's what got me through. That creates safety for me. It regulates me constantly. And if I could tell you the stories of divorce, death, cancer, loss, my sister, my husband, my daughter have all had cancer, all of it, financial loss, debt, betrayed by business partners, we've had a whole shebang over the last 2 decades. But I have created safety in all of that through that. And that's why I do that grounding based work, because I realized in the past, all my decisions were based from fear. And that got me nowhere. You're just dysregulating all the time. I know
Yes.
the highest version of me, the better I feel, is when I'm regulated, when I'm grounded, when I feel safe.
And what's your experience working, okay, yourself, right? But also working with people. Why do people actually only practice all of these positive things that we teach them, like breath work, meditation, grounding, going for physical exercise, eating good nutrients, and all of the above, journaling, introspecting, connecting, being in the present moment when the times are good. And the moment the life throws a curveball, they stop doing everything. Say, no, I'm too focused trying to fix this problem. And I'm like, yeah, but the reason why you have this problem is because you've actually stopped doing those things. And where are you right now? You are dysregulated. So,
Mm.
like, why do they do it?
I think sometimes it's potential to be the opposite, that I found my faith and I found this through adversity because things, life was happening and I needed to regulate. But I will say to my clients, this isn't a one and done. This is about, because and I used to do it. I'd go to meditation and I'd feel great, and then life would happen. And I'd
Yeah.
refer to it as my telegraph poles. So my meditation practice with someone else was grounded and strong. And in between, my life was like the saggy wire going between the telegraph poles. Oh, I can't wait to go to meditation. Oh, I feel better now. Great. Okay, I'll get back to life. Then my wire would get saggy and I'd do it. And then I just got to the point going, why am I doing this with someone else? Why am I not creating my own practice, creating my own poles to keep my wire taut and strong
They're
in
no saggy
between?
anymore.
No,
Yeah.
no, no saggy wires with me. But it is, and I say to my clients, and they'll come and they go, "Oh, can you send me meditation?" All of that, which is part of that my program, and I'm happy to do. But it's like you need to. No, you don't need to. I invite you to create that ritual every day. And it doesn't have to be a woo woo, it doesn't have to be spiritual, but it's about finding a space in your day. See, one client, she lives next door to her mum. She goes into her mum's garden, there are some stone lionesses, and that's her safe space. She knows that she feels calm. And so she makes a choice. Okay, this is a client with cancer. I'm feeling fearful. I'm feeling this. The kids are driving me nuts. My husband's not supporting me. I need to go there. I'm choosing to go there because it allows me to take that deep breath and ground. That can be anything. That can be for someone, it could be painting, it could be baking, it could be running or going to the gym or walking. Nature is my church in inverted commas, and that state of peace can be anything for anyone, but it's knowing what it is. It's knowing what creates that, what I call pushing the world away. I see myself sitting on sand going, I'm going to push the waves away, and I'm going to find this peace to go, okay, what about me? What do I need? Is it a crystal? Is it a meditation? Is it breath work? Is it tapping? Is it just music? And then putting yourself first and going, because I know I feel better as a result. And that's all it is. Do you want to feel better or do you want to feel worse or the same? What
Yeah.
choice are you going to make?
Yeah. And I love what you said about your own experience, how you because people say to us, probably to you as well, you've heard clients say, or even friends, I don't have time. I don't have time. And if you actually are flexible in applying all of these beautiful techniques and modalities, you will see that you have time. You can practice meditation while being in the garden and putting your laundry, taking it out of the washing machine and putting it up, loading the dishwasher. You can do the gratitude. You can actually, while brushing teeth, that could be your time to do some I'm proud of myself, and you can do some gratitude. I have invented the technique. Every time you go to pee, which is 7 to 8 times a day, humans do, average person with a healthy bladder, there's a gratitude technique. So
Mm,
you actually, every time you take a deep breath and you evoke the feeling of that, with the urine you are releasing any negative energy and anything that no longer serves you, and then you focus on your heart and feel grateful. That
mm,
could, I don't know, 15 seconds, 1 minute, and maybe you continue while you're washing your hands after.
mm,
If you do that 7 times a day, And there is evidence of doing this daily, uh, twice a day, 10 minutes a day for 6 weeks. You can lengthen your telomeres by up to 50%. There is actually clinical study on this. By what that means, you lengthen your life by 50%. And this is people who've never done any practice before. They were just volunteers who said, we want to practice this. And they say, okay, 10 minutes a day, twice a day, active state of gratitude, and evoke the feelings, feel in every cell of your being. And, people can't tell me I don't have time. You
I,
can just be mindful in the moment and be grateful and, take a couple of deep breaths.
the choice word there is mindful. All of that you said is being mindful. So not having a mind full of the world, but just being conscious and being curious. And life is going to go on. There's always going to be a call to make, a person to see, a thing to do, money to earn. It's not going to stop. The world is not suddenly going to stop. And as I say to my clients, if they have issues with other people, it's like you can't change anyone else. You can't.
No,
It's
no.
down to you. And I had a client yesterday, and she was saying, "Oh, my husband really encourages me to do that." And I said, "Oh, it's wonderful that your husband's on board and sees that you benefit from this, but he can't make you do that. He can encourage
No.
you." I said, "It's down to you." And it doesn't. It sounds harsh, but for me, that's like a key. Here's the key to the door. You have a choice. You have a choice to do this, and if you don't do it, that's it. It's not going to get done. So it's how important are you to you? And for some people, they're not important. For some people, they don't feel worthy. They don't feel enough. They don't want to do that. That's very uncomfortable for them. So that's a whole journey in itself of clearing those limiting beliefs. But it's like when you do that and you take those moments, it's a bit like, people watch YouTube videos and they speed it up to 1.5 or 2 because they haven't got time.
Yeah.
They want to listen to it quickly. Go the other way. Speed it down to, even if it's like 0.75, slow it down enough that as you say, I'm washing my hands. How many people have running water, hot running water, in order to
Yeah.
wash their hands? Where does that water come from? For me, water is a whole beautiful conversation I could have about the consciousness of water. But think of the same water that's been on this planet in all its different forms for billions of years. Think of the DNA and wisdom in that water. Think of the
Yeah.
consciousness of the water. Think of it coming down from the mountains and then being purified and being delivered to you through pipes. How lucky are we? And all of that just happens. I mean, we've
Yeah.
had loads of storms here recently, and I know people that haven't had electricity for 3, 4 days. It
Yeah.
doesn't take much for the whole infrastructure to break down,
Yeah.
to not have clean water or not have electricity
I,
or
I have friends in Scotland who've actually suffered a great financial loss in the recent storms.
Mm,
Glasgow area. A friend had to shut 2 businesses on a Friday, where it's like his busiest, money taking day because he runs like clubs and sports bars, and also his house got damaged, the roof and the fences and many things got damaged. And of course, so if he quantifies, probably lost about 40, 50,000 pounds
mm,
in
mm,
just one day.
mm,
And the Friday was a day he had to pay salary to
mm.
hundreds of staff, so he said he had to dig into his savings.
Yeah.
But it's incredible how you know people actually you said some people feel inadequate, but actually it's not some, it's most.
Mm,
And, if we're going to label it, it's the global epidemic of human beings. And if we can quantify it, a child, you mentioned earlier, a child is born on average in every household, is born with 100% self-love and
mm,
self-confidence.
mm,
And they are in that high vibrational state. And even Stephen Hawking has done a lot of work on the measuring of the frequency of each emotion, and it's all like public knowledge. They people peer-reviewed science, they can research. And child is there, no child looks in a mirror with their belly sticking out and saying, look at me, I'm fat, or I
mm,
look bad in
mm,
this. The
mm,
child would go with their big belly around the swimming pool and say, look at me, wow, and
mm,
they're
mm,
jumping in, they don't have a care in the world.
mm,
And then from some point in their childhood until later on, they've been told they are not good enough, they are ugly, they are fat, they are not worthy, they are not deserving, they should be quiet, they should listen, they should not be creative. Stop listening to these imaginary voices in your head. And it's like literally that 100% from childhood was diluted through these programs, which actually are negative and disempowering. And then later on, that child begins to develop all kinds of chronic conditions later on in their adult life. And as you said, like finding that knot to undo the knot, and that's the key. And what does it look like, feel like? Well, there was an experience in childhood where there was a strong emotional charge, and it was embossed in the brain. So you, every time you get triggered as an adult, because it's unconscious, you feel it physiologically in your biology. You feel that experience, and actually you suffer in that present moment. So how do you know that you have healed is when there is no longer emotional charge? And that's why you need to identify the knot and actually change the narrative, release the emotional charge, do some body work, some breath work, some tapping, and with expert like yourself, so you can release. Because if you mentioned chakras, I usually only use words energy centers, because I don't want people to think like woo woo. I kind of stick to science. The spaces around your energy centers, actually, there are it's an endocrine system, so it's responsible for a lot of hormonal production, for regulating and your body to work at the optimal level. So when you have some of these trapped emotions, which are inner child wounds, emotional, psychological wounds, usually from your childhood or some experience that you perceive as traumatic, there is a disruption in your endocrine system. And literally by working with Mary Lou and her kind of style of work, you are releasing those emotions. And now every system is working at the optimal level, and you don't even know. Like even like the pain in your physical body, it could be a lower back pain. It's actually not a physical condition. It's usually trapped emotions.
It's what I call a physical manifestation of an emotional state.
Yeah.
And I think when we're not taught or encouraged to look at that body in that kind of metaphysical way. That the image I work a lot with imagery and analogies. When you were talking about that child, and it's heartbreaking, as you were saying, and it's absolute truth, and the layer and layer and layer. The image I got was a child and its limbs and body being wrapped in barbed wire. And as you go through life, there'll be certain bits that prick, that hurt when you do that. And that's those truths, those stories they were told, the limitations that were put on them as you go, be quiet, you're not enough, you're stupid, you're fat, all those things. And you go through life and one gets used to going, I can't go there because that feels uncomfortable. I can't maybe be a CEO because I'd be visible and I wouldn't be worthy, or I couldn't go to the gym, or I'm going to feed those emotions and use food as source. And those are all those pricks, but we're so used to having them. And it's like, who would you be, without that?
Without the barbed wire, right? Who would you be without the barbed wire?
But I think we're so used to having it, we don't know. But if I look at some client examples of how that shows up, and not necessarily from childhood, we learn and we experience throughout our lives.
Correct.
I have one client who has dystonia, which is a spasm of the muscle. She can't, her neck is constantly pulled to the side. And we deep dive in her childhood, emotional abuse, narcissistic mother, really, really sad. Physical abuse when she didn't what she was told. She was like a sort of slave in a way. And so many layers of beliefs to unpack. But again, because of the language I use, there's so much lack of safety around her. She is so stuck in fight and flight. I said, your body is literally twisting itself in knots. And it's like I see this spiral of this muscle that's literally turning her away. And her body it struggles to look at safety. It's like, no, that's not safe. I'd rather turn away. So it's so poignant what she has, for me, is an absolute physical manifestation of her story, of her experience. Or I have another lady who had had MS. And if you look at her story, she had a 10-year period where both her in-laws and her parents were elderly, and her and her husband were the caretakers within this. And they each had sort of every elderly illness you can think of: stroke, heart attack, dementia, Alzheimer's.
Wow.
She was loaded for those 10 years. But particularly her mother, again, narcissistic, emotionally abusive, really negative experience she'd had all her life. And she's having to care for her mother whilst her mother is emotionally abusing her. And it
Wow.
was an absolute long timeline. And bang in the middle of this 10 years, she contracted MS, which is all about inflexibility and all those wounds. And so we did a
Mm.
lot of deep work around forgiveness and compassion for herself and for her
Yeah,
mother, and understanding those
absolutely.
layers. Again, a breast cancer client, the nurture, she's over nurturing other people, but not nurturing her. And the breasts are all about nurturing. It goes to her
Yeah, yeah.
spine. It's all about support.
Feeling
Um,
inadequate, right?
yeah.
Yeah, I gotta keep doing for others so
hmm
I can feel worthy.
My husband had prostate cancer, and metaphysically, if you look at prostate cancer, it's all about earning for the family, protecting, providing, and future
Yeah,
financial support
yeah,
and
stability.
security.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
5 years ago, we didn't have that. And cancer doesn't just appear. Cancer is a journey. It takes, years to get to the point where it's
In
can
a
be
in a
observed
imbalance.
and
Yeah.
all of that. I believe, because I know him and I know our circumstances, that was the beginning of his prostate cancer.
Mm.
Luckily, he's been treated and everything is fine. But as you say,
Is good health now?
yes, he had this amazing treatment called HIFU, which is focused ultrasound. So all good.
And does he practice any modalities that you teach, like breath work and meditation and
Eldin, if I'm the left wing, he's the right wing. He's so the other way. I offer him
mm,
sessions every week for either massage or healing or tapping or kinesiology. He chooses not to. He also has chronic pain. He's been on a chronic pain journey for 14 years. And he's my biggest teacher. He's absolutely my biggest teacher. And I believe, and again, on a very wee
he's
level,
teaching you patience, right?
yes, and compassion, and
And
also that it's not my
compassion and
story.
love and yeah,
After 8 years
yeah.
of trying to help him and twisting myself in knots, I thought, I can't do this anymore. This is his journey. These are
There
his
is a,
choices.
there is a way you can help him without his involvement. Do you know the way?
Well, I have lots of different ways. I can tap surrogately. I send him love. I send compassion.
Yeah,
I
yeah. So,
can.
so there is a way you can actually connect to his metaphysical body and actually manipulate his on a cellular level, on a DNA level, without touching him, without even being in the same room. He could be actually 5,000 miles away from you, and you could do it from where you are geographically. It's just basically you go into the deep, you do some deep breath work. There is a breathwork technique which activates your DMT without psychedelics, without ayahuasca. You just do it through breathwork. When you are in that state, you then couple that with heart meditation, and basically your entire body, it's this powerful, bright, golden light, especially within your heart center. And then from there, you send gratitude and love to his heart. And then you literally set an intention that you are now inside his body. And you go look for those cells, look for the DNA, look for any imbalance, and you create balance. But from the place of certainty that the outcome is already completed, he's fully healed, and you go in there not to do the work, but just to give gratitude. So thank you. Now, on a cellular level, they are assisting you and working together, and you become one with. So there is not you and him, and it's basically you and your cells are one, and your cells and his cells are one, right? And this is actually called quantum entanglement. It's
hmm
science. It's
hmm
not
hmm
spirituality, not woo woo, and it's incredible how you, by doing this, and obviously you got to get yourself into a particular state. By doing that, you actually change matter even at the distance.
I totally get quantum entanglement, and I've done power of eight circles and worked with people the other side of the world doing heart meditation and feeling into that, and that's beautiful. But I think there's also a layer of and I'm totally on board with the potentiality of that. There's also not karma, but looking at his choices before he came down and why he's here and why he has it and what it's teaching both him and me. So there's not a presumption, I think,
No, I understand what you are
of
saying.
that
Yeah.
journey. It's a bit like my sister passed when she was 40 from her from cancer. And I think for a lot of people, she was unmarried with no children. The narrative around that was, oh, she never got time to marry. She never had kids. You know, her life was cut short. Excuse me, was cut short. And you look at it that way. I don't see that. It's not. I don't think of her life as an A to Z, and she left at M. I think her life had been an A to Z, and that was her time. And there was no. That was what you know. What does Peter Crone say? What happened happened and was meant to happen. Why? Because it happened. You know, things are as they are. And for me, I have a huge faith in the universe of you are exactly where you're meant to be. It doesn't mean you can't improve. And all the things we've talked about today about the potentiality and the positivity and the gratitude and growing into that and being expansive. But it's all of that is a journey. And there
Yeah.
has to be, it's part of not living in that fear and that restriction. I work very much with that allowing, letting go, law of detachment, of just
Surrendering. Yeah.
trusting. Yeah, of absolutely, of just surrendering and being in the power, beautiful power of that moment, knowing that all these beautiful things are coming to you. But if they don't, and let's say I lost my sister, that was as it was meant to be. She had a
So
beautiful, beautiful full life.
So, my podcast is called The Human Experience, based on this started over 5 years ago because I know it's from like factual peer-reviewed science that we are spiritual being having a temporary human experience.
Mm.
Let me ask you, why are we here? What is your understanding and from your studies and your research?
For me, it's exactly that. It's an experience. I think we're here to learn and to expand and to shine our light. I know that sounds very woo, but everything for me, every experience I've had has created who I am. When I'm in meditation, I always end by in gratitude. I thank who I am. I thank who I have been and the experiences I've had and the people who've been part of that, focusing in that way, in the negative and the positive.
The good, bad, and the ugly, yeah?
Yeah, and I thank the being that I'm going to step into, the expansive being that I'm constantly leaning forward, and that to me is life. Is that everything that's happened to me has happened for my benefit. It didn't feel like
Blessing.
that at the time at all. It felt there was a long period of time where I felt like a victim and why me, and I that's all I would share with these stories of all these things that have gone wrong, but they've absolutely been the wind underneath my wings.
Yeah.
If you are not, if it sounds a little crude, but if life doesn't squeeze you like a lemon, you don't know what juice you have. I
Yeah.
only know I've only become who I've become, and that I can then offer to others as a result of where I've been. And if I
Uh,
hadn't, if I had an easy life and nothing had squeezed me, I would be a very vanilla, boring person with nothing to offer.
Absolutely, I concur. And, not only that I've been doing this work for good part of 3 decades, but also I've had my own experiences where I had a heart attack, actually died and came back to life in 2009, and so many other traumatic experiences. And I would say, because of all of those traumatic experiences that I've experienced mentally and physically, as you said, when I was going through those experiences was like end of the world. But, later on through my healing journey, I realized it's a blessing because
Okay.
thanks to all those experiences, I have a life that I have today, and
Mm,
I am able to do the work that I am doing today because, not only do we understand it kind of theoretically and scientifically, what the potential client or client that we have is feeling and going through, but we've also experienced it ourselves. So we have like a blueprint, internal blueprint, how to get from A to Z, and we
mm,
can then share with them, and through obviously the modalities and techniques, as well as through our own journey, and say, listen, I know exactly how you are feeling
mm,
because I was there 5 years ago, I was there
mm,
20 years ago, I was there 15 years ago.
mm,
And it's incredible how the more people need to understand that we are all work in progress. No one's finished article, even today where we are, because I say always there's no perfection, there's only improvement. And knowledge isn't power. Knowledge is only a potential power. Knowledge plus application can be very, very
Mm,
powerful. So
mm.
if you're learning something from this podcast, if you're learning something new, some new techniques, new insights, new that you can actually you feel inspired right now, please comment, share this podcast, give it a 5-star review. This helps the algorithm for things to go viral. And I have a couple more questions for Mary Lou because we kind of coming to the end of the time of this podcast. So, if people want to follow you, where can they find you?
So my website is energy-coaching.co.uk, and everything is on there. I just wanted to respond to what you just said. People like you and I, and most people who will learn a modality, hopefully, not only do we bring that, that expertise and experience, but we're evidence that other people's experiences can improve, aren't we? Because as you say, we've all got a story and we've all got a history. And so hopefully it gives people that evidence of that potentiality and the optimism that actually, and it's, I call it work, but for me, it's a blessing to do that, to be able to step into that and use the wisdom. We're that lit match that then lights all the matches around us.
Absolutely.
So yes, you'll see my website. I either offer one-to-one sessions. I've just started a group EFT Facebook group called the Tapping Tree. EFT is amazing in group settings, and it doesn't even have to be your issue, and you can still benefit. A very supportive, warm community, and we're going to deal with things like stress and anxiety, self-doubt, and chronic illness. So I'm very excited about that. And I also offer a quantum healing path, which is a dedicated one-to-one path for people struggling with a chronic illness or cancer. And we deep dive into all the things we've talked about today. So unlimited WhatsApp, and you have energy healing within that, and EFT and meditation as well.
Yeah, I'm part of your Facebook group as well. I'm looking
Yes,
forward to, yeah, it's amazing
exciting.
already. I'm loving it. I'm loving all the posts and videos. And so, what's your social media handle if people want to follow you on Facebook, on Instagram? Is it just at your full name?
So for Instagram, it's marilu.ren, which is Marilu, and Facebook is Marilu Ren Energy Coach.
Amazing, amazing. And then, if people want to benefit from all the teachings in the group, I guess they through your personal profile on Facebook, they can find the group and they can request to join if if they feel so inclined,
Yeah, that would be
right?
great. And then I've
Yeah.
got a YouTube channel, but all of that, if they go on my website, you can find all that on there.
And the message for, because I know a lot of people in the High Net Connect Society, they were gonna, listen to this podcast and see this podcast. The message to you is, please help us out to make this, go viral. Share with everybody in your WhatsApp groups this podcast, this video. My podcast is actually top 15 in the world on Spotify as a video podcast. I've got like hundreds. I think it's about 800, 900 5 stars on Spotify. I've got like so many 5-star reviews, but I want to impact 1 billion people positively. That's
Beautiful.
my life's mission. Make a positive impact through my work, through collaborating with people like Marilu Ren and everybody at the High Net Connect Society, like the amazing Liz, right? So
Awesome.
I'm looking forward to actually having her on a podcast. It's just like
That'd be amazing.
she's always like, like my time is just like everybody's pulling me in every
Yeah.
direction. It's just finding time for me to actually come on. But yeah, few people from High Net Connect Society have already booked the podcast recording. So yeah, so thank you so much once again. And one last question that I ask all my guests. What's if have you got any offerings like that? I mean, you told us what services, but do you have any specific for the audience who are watching this podcast that you can, I don't know, any offerings for the
If
audience?
people are curious about living as a vibrational being, on my website, I have a masterclass called the Energy Masterclass, and it slightly deep dives into grounding, the heart math. It just touches on everything. And I always say from it, take what resonates. whether it's crystals, whether it's the energy center work, whether it's meditation or sacred geometry. It's like a little taster into all of it. So I think it's quite a nice exploration into that. So I will give you a code. I will happily give everyone, let's say, 50% off for that,
Okay.
if they're interested in that.
We'll have all of this in the show notes, all the links to Marilou's websites and all her offerings, her social media handles. So follow her. Hire her as a coach if you need the support that she's offering. Check it out. And the question that I had is, what is the impact you want to leave on humanity while you are here?
Oh, gosh. Wish I had time to think about that, to come up with a really beautiful answer. I think for me, if everyone understood their innate wisdom and their healing potential, if they could see the highest version of themselves, the choices they'd make be very different. If they understood themselves as a vibrational being, the impact of what they say, of what they think, of what they ingest and digest on all different levels, how amazing would humanity be if we all lived in that vibrational state? I think we'd be unstoppable and beautiful and healthy.
Yes, absolutely. I love that. And that will translate into humanity thriving instead of just surviving.
And working together.
Yeah.
We're not just here on our own. We're a
Because
beautiful human collective.
human collective as a tribe. And actually, the science has now begun to show documented evidence as proof that we are all intertwined. It's not just some woo-woo spiritual saying. It's actually a factual evidence that, the time and space, it's actually man-made construct. It's not real. It doesn't exist. And
So if you think on that level, if one is doing one's own work and healing and loving oneself, you cannot help but impact those around you. You're kind of inadvertently healing others by doing your own healing work. I genuinely believe that.
You are contributing with your energy resonance, with your electromagnetical energetical field into the collective consciousness field, into the quantum field, all of the time, knowingly or unknowingly. So what we are doing with Marilou Ren is inviting you to try to be more conscious and deliberate and intentional in what are you contributing, not only in your own life, but in everyone else's life. Because as we say, there's no time and space, and you are constantly contributing to make this world a better place.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Thank you so much. It was an absolute honor. Thank you so much. And I will notify you when the podcast is live.
Okay.
All right. Today's episode is sponsored by Formula EQ Academy, formulaeq.com. They are actually running a 2-day health reset retreat in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 29 and March 30. It is actually a neuroscience-based theta rewiring experience, fully immersive, using as many of the 5 senses, the ultimate mind-body reset. You will get utilizing theta brainwave activation, guided meditations, breathwork, somatic therapy, healing, and EFT. Multi-sensory journey designed to reprogram limiting beliefs, heal trauma, and unlock peak potential. It's hosted by Preston Week's top global psychologist and the neuroscientist from London, Eldin Hasa, yours truly, the host of this podcast. So I am traveling from London, England, to partner up with Preston Weeks from Formula EQ Academy to host this 2-day health reset retreat. I will put all the information in the show notes about the event and about our sponsor. Looking forward to meeting you live in person at our 2-day retreat in Scottsdale, Arizona on March 29 and March 30.